Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today, we're going to be talking about Elite Barbarians, everybody's favorite card to hate in the game recently. So today, I'm going to share my opinions on the card, and some of you, well, probably most of you are going to disagree with me, but I've never been one to hide my unpopular opinions. So today, I'm going to outline basically why I A, think they're OP, and why B, I think that's a good thing. But, hear me out, guys, and hopefully you'll walk away with at least a better understanding of why I feel the way I do. And while I regale you all on my opinion about Elite Barbarians, you can watch some of my recent matches. Been having a lot of success lately, and I just hit a new personal best in cups, so enjoy these matches. So let me start with a little story, guys, that might be able to give you a little bit of a perspective on why I feel the way I do. So little Ash back in 1983, 84 was, just a tyke, just a young kid, and Dad came home with this shiny new, well, basically a station wagon of home entertainment consoles. It was called the Intellivision, and boy, was it amazing. I remember playing Major League Baseball for endless hours on it. So, why am I telling you this nostalgic story? Well, one, because MLB for Intellivision was absolutely amazing, and B, it's to kind of instill upon you guys the appreciation I have for playing a game that not only looks a million times better than these games that I grew up on, but also games that are constantly updated and tweaked and balanced and everything like that. So, I say that all as a precursor to this conversation because at the end of the day, I feel that I'm lucky with the fact that I play a game and cover a game here on YouTube that is constantly maintained, and we as a community, we can oftentimes forget the privilege or what a privilege it is to play a game like this. So the next time that you start to rage over a slightly OP card in Clash Royale, remember, you could be playing this. So see, there, it could be much worse. So anyway, guys, the topic of today's video is, are Elite Barbs OP, and is that a good thing? So again, warning, my opinion will probably be very unpopular. I'm basing that on what I'm seeing on social media today and basically all week, all holiday season. So I think that yes, Elite Barbarians are definitely incredibly powerful. In fact, I think that they're the most powerful common card introduced to the game since Royal Giant, coincidentally, another player favorite, wink wink. But that being said, I'm actually okay with Elite Barbs being OP for three main reasons, and to be fair and honest, I'm also not okay with them being so OP for one main reason. So let me start with the one reason, the reason I'm not a big fan of their OPness, for lack of a better phrase. So again, first, the reason I'm not a big fan of Elite Barbarians, and the only reason I can personally come up with, is their usage rate, their popularity. And that's not an awful thing on face value. I mean, Hog Rider is used a lot as a win condition, and for the most part, people don't have a huge issue with it. But the difference is that Hog Rider, similar to Giant and Golem and so on, is a defense and tower targeting troop, or building and tower targeting troop. And Elite Barbarians are, of course, a powerful win condition, but they're also a very powerful defensive card, so they can be used at the bridge, at the river, and also as a really lethal and very popular counter push after a successful defense. So because of their popularity, they're starting to box out other cards, and in a game with 66 and soon to be 70 cards in it, it just kind of sucks to see one of them getting so much action to the tune of being in like over half the decks of the entire game. I mean, that's pretty insane, especially considering not everybody has even leveled them all the way up yet to their max potential of their other common cards. So that's kind of boxing out other cards, like Mini P.E.K.K.A, for example, one of the only cards that can really be compared in utility to Elite Barbarians, being that it's a fast-moving and defensive and offensive troop, although it's, in a lot of ways much different as well. But Mini P.E.K.K.A, the poor Mini P.E.K.K.A, is not seeing too much love in the game right now in the current meta, and, that's a given that not every card is going to be popular, but, to see a card with somewhat similar utility being so unpopular versus a card card that's so strong and so popular, it just kind of sucks that, you know, it's boxing out other cards. So that's the one big argument that honestly I don't have a great rebuttal for. A similar situation to the Mega Minion in some ways, where I love the card, but it just sucked that it was so viable that it pushed down the popularity of other cards of a similar utility in the game, and that's why it received a little nerf there in the last update, even though it's still a super strong card. But anyway, let's move on to the good stuff, the stuff that you guys probably are going to disagree with me on, the reasons that I love Elite Barbarians in the game and don't think they should get a big nerf. So, if you disagree, now would be a good time to start hammering that dislike button. Let's all dislike together, guys. Hammer that dislike button. Okay, you know, guys, you guys know. Side note, I never ask for likes, but I do find it funny when people really beg for them. Anyway, I digress. I apologize. I'm not hating on anybody. So, number one, right? So, the number one reason that I don't mind Elite Barbarians is they're fairly easy to counter. They can be easily countered with basically 2 to 3 elixir if done correctly. I mean, you can counter them with Skarmy, with a Tombstone, with Ice Golem is a great counter, where you can kite them with Skeletons, with Ice Spirit. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, and in turn, it increases the popularity of those counter cards as the community as a whole adjusts to the popularity of Elite Barbarians. They certainly go down a little bit as people start carrying more counters in their decks for the Elite Barbarians, and that kind of shift is still going on right now because they're still newly buffed and newly leveled up in the game. So that's the first reason I don't mind them. They're relatively easy to counter and people are starting to adjust to them already. Number 2, and this is probably the biggest one, I probably should have started with this one, and that's that they're common. And I know that might not make a lot of sense to people because that was one of the reasons that me, along with a lot of other players, complained about the Royal Giant. He was everywhere, and he still is almost everywhere because he's a common, and people, especially free-to-play players, have the opportunity to level him up to max and not necessarily their rare, epic, or legendary cards. It's easier to level up common cards. So this brings me to an interesting point, right? I mean, if it's easy to level up common cards and it benefits the free-to-play player, shouldn't that be a good thing? It's a little awkward because there's really only 2 really super strong win condition common cards in the Royal Giant and the Elite Barbarians. They both receive a lot of hate because they're both really popular and their usage rate is really high. But don't we need more cards, more big, powerful common cards, if we're going to have any at all, added to the game? That way free-to-play players can actually compete in ladder without having to go against people with maxed rares, epics, and legendaries as their win conditions. So overall, I think it's a good thing. It was kind of bad when it was only Royal Giant, because that's all you ever saw is Royal Giant, especially in lower to mid-level Legendary Arena, even a little bit in Arena 8, which I guess is now Arena 9 or whatever. You guys get the point. But now that there's 2 of them, and coincidentally, the Elite Barbarians are actually a really good counter to Royal Giant, so in a way, they've kind of stymied the popularity a little bit of the Royal Giant. You still see a lot of them, but you know, that's because he's a common card too. So I think it's a fantastic move to have powerful common cards in the game, contrary to popular belief, as long as there's going to be more than just one of them. So I like that. I think that's actually really good for free-to-play players. And the third reason is that they're unique. I like that they're the only 6+ elixir card in the game that moves fast and attacks fast. Everything else is slow, slow, slow. Mostly all tanks. But these are fast, and it's fun. It's fun to play them, and the fact that there's only 2 of them, it still gives life, I should say, to Barbarians and Skarmy and Minion Horde, because they're better as swarm defenses versus the more point damage type feel to the Elite Barbarians. So they're also expensive, and an unskilled player who plays them too aggressively will definitely pay for it, maybe even by losing a tower. So yeah, those are my 3 big points on why I think it's actually good to have Elite Barbarians being a powerful card inside the game. So in conclusion, my 4 points, 1 negative and 3 positives, and then I'll kind of wrap up my final thoughts here. A negative, a con, is that they're so popular that they're boxing out the usage rates of other cards. On the pros, they're fairly easy to counter, they're a common card, they're good for free-to-play players, and 3, they're unique in their utility in the game, in their function in the game. So I was recently having a conversation with a brown bag. He's a streamer, you should check him out. Super entertaining bag. I'm not sure, if I want to use any pronouns. He's a bag. So anyway, I have to really agree with a point that he made. And he said, and he's been saying this a lot on his streams, that he feels strongly that the proper fix to Elite Barbarians is adding even more viable cards like Elite Barbarians that free-to-play players can level up for ladder play and ultimately use successfully alongside the Elite Barbarians and maybe even the Royal Giant. So I agree with him, and he kind of, he thinks outside the box, and I like that. I like that he thinks outside the box, and I like his argument, and I kind of agree. I tend to agree, if you guys hadn't noticed throughout the last 10 minutes. So guys, I'm kind of stalling until this replay ends. It's pretty funny when that happens, right? So, okay guys, I hope you have a happy New Year's. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song? Go ahead and comment below. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday so far. 19 seconds left. Actually, let me tell you a little story about a tournament that I'm running for New Year's Eve. So, tournament for New Year's Eve is going to be really awesome. I'll share the link in tomorrow's video. It's going to be hosted and sponsored by Bren Chong. I'm going to be working with a couple other YouTubers to give away another $500 to you guys. So stay tuned for that. There will be more information about that in tomorrow's video, guys. Now the replay is done. Now that means I can wish you a very happy and safe New Year. Thanks so much for watching. I really, truly appreciate it. Agree or disagree, by the way, and you can go ahead and undo the dislike, and then you can move it over to wherever you feel appropriate. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.